Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Reardon, and I'll be your mindset coach this evening. If you're new, welcome. Make sure to follow, like, and subscribe and all that good stuff you do to videos. But we're going to be continuing with our relationship talk, our relationship series for the month of September. In our first episode, we were talking about the blog, where we were talking the difference between men and women. And then we went into a book, The Rational Male, on our next episode, talking about the red pill and blue pill type of ideology. And I had a great question about stigma males and ligma males. And I'm not an expert in the red pill, blue pill by any means, or all the variations of mindsets that deal with certain types of genders, right? So a stigma male will be like someone just views someone as being alpha, beta, etc. And for me, it's not necessarily so much you're an alpha or you're a beta type of person. It's going to be, are you a dominant person? Are you a positive person? Etc., like masculine and feminine traits. We talked about that on Monday and on Wednesday. So understanding masculine and feminine for me is a little bit more pronounced and a little bit more valuable when talking about relationships than saying, oh, he's an alpha male or she's a alpha female, things like that. Because if you think about it, there is no alpha female, right? There's just a masculine type female. So how is there an alpha male? And I understand the whole idea behind alpha, beta male, especially when we consider our wolf, like if we think about a species of animals who has a leader of the pack, right? This is going to be the leader, the alpha, the omega. And then we have someone who would like to be the leader, but at the same time doesn't want to do what the leader is going to do. So we have our beta people, right? And when you hold yourself into either an alpha or a beta, it messes with your mind a little bit. Not so much where it's going to make you a bad person or it's going to ruin your life, but it's going to give you a certain attitude, whether you are bark and no bite or bite and no bark. So just understanding what you are, that's fine if you needed to know that. Some people need to be an alpha. Some people need to be a beta male, whatever they want to be. For me, I just want to be comfortable in my skin regular day, right? Because I'm confident in who I am. I don't need to have a title to say, hey, this is me. Appreciate me, respect me. I'm going to get that as soon as I walk out. And a concept that I learned when I was young was you walk into the place like you own it. And it doesn't matter where you are. You walk into that place like you own it. And surprise, surprise, if you haven't guessed, I'm Black. So what that means is I can go anywhere in the world. I can go to a meeting with, let's say, some activists who may or may not be white, and I'll feel totally comfortable. I'll pull up a chair, grab a Miller Lite, and hang around, the campfire. I'm comfortable because I'm confident in myself and my abilities. I don't need to be an alpha male or a beta male to say, oh, I can't do this, or, oh, I can do that. My mindset is already determined saying, I'm going to do that. And there's nothing going to stop me. So when we think about that type of mindset in a relationship, it's very assertive, right? And that could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing too, where someone is thinking, oh, you're too assertive, you're too dominant, you're too controlling. Good. Because if that's who you are naturally, why should you pretend to be anything else than who you are? You shouldn't pretend to be someone you're not in order to get someone. You don't have to do that. And if you are and you're not getting results, Try to be yourself. And that's hard for a lot of men in general. They feel like they have to be someone else in order to get a relationship, right? To get a girl at the club, to get a girl to marry him, or go just even on a date. They say, oh, I'm this and oh, I'm that. And oh, I have a Lamborghini, or I drive a Tesla. I have $1 million in the bank. I have $100 million in Bitcoin. Okay. Sure. Whatever. But what does that accomplish at the end of the day? Do you feel any better about yourself? Maybe your confidence goes up a little bit if you're able to have relationships, if you have relations with the female. But even if you didn't, then you're going to have a problem down the road. Thank you for the follow, Haas. You're going to have a problem down the road, because are you going to keep up this charade, or are you going to say, you know what? I'm going to be my natural self? Because eventually you're going to get caught. Because if you're saying you have a private jet and you have a yacht and all these wonderful things, and the girl's like, oh, I can't wait to go on them. And then when it's time to go on them, ghosting. And you don't need to lie to any lady or woman to have sexual access with them. You just have to be confident. Same thing I said in the beginning. Know your worth. Why do you think the book I recommended, The Rational Male, was the book of the month for relationships? The first book is to help you, gentlemen, understand that you have some worth in, like whether it be in the dating market and just the general day-to-day business with life, you have some worth. And I'm not going to get into that right now, because we're trying to stay on relationships, not so much on men, elevating. But it's important to understand, in a relationship, you should be the person who's sought after. And I'm not saying that the girl that you have shouldn't be sought after, but it's easier for her to have sexual access with an abundance of men. And I said it last time. I said a girl can go into a bar and say, who wants to have relations with me? And there'll be a line out the door. As soon as she walks out, there's 19 cars with the door open, and she gets a pick. But if you said that, all the girls in the bar will just laugh at you. Little chuckle. They'll say, look at this loser. He must be a beta male. Ugh. I wouldn't be seen with him if he was the last guy on earth. Whatever, right? Whatever if the shoe was on the other foot. The girl, the lady, the woman can go out and have relations with anyone. So what is happening now is younger generations are saying, you know what? I'm just going to go have my fun, right? I'm just going to go have my fun. So whether male or female, they're just going to go have their fun. They're not looking for anything serious. They're not looking for something long-term. They're looking for a fling. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, oh well, go on to the next one. And men are typically not joining the dating scene until a little bit later, until they're about 28. And if you were fortunate enough to be one of the males that were sought after in your high school 20s, good, right? Enjoy that. Appreciate that. Don't let your ego get to your brain, though, and say, oh, I'm all this and I'm all that. Because it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how much clout you have. It doesn't matter how good of a person you are. It's going to come down to, if you want to be with someone, what are your values? And this past week, I had an interview with a relationship coach. Her name was Amy Schoen. And she's the founder of Motivated to Marry. You can check her out, motivatedtomarry.com. And her and I had a conversation. And there were some good points, there were some bad points. And we're not going to show the interview today because the audio was messed up. So it just was not salvageable. So I'm not going to put you through that interview where the audio just wasn't happening. So since the audio wasn't happening, I'm going to break down the interview. So we were talking what a relationship needs. That was like one of the first few questions. And Amy was talking about values. And she was saying everything about your values have to be in line. And if they're not, that's when problems start to rise. Discrepancy. Because if you have a cat and they're allergic to cats, most likely it might not work, right? Because your values are not going to align. You're not going to give up your fur baby for a relationship. Even though this guy or girl might be amazing, you might say, no, the cat was here first, or the dog was here first. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can be as picky as you want in your relationships. Because if your values and your ideals don't match, it's just going to cause turmoil and a lot of heartache down the road. So we want to avoid that. We want to understand, okay, is this person going to be a good person for me, whether it be to marry or just to have fun with? So how do you determine that? Well, that's the trick question. Because if you are a person looking for a relationship, whether it be for sexual access or someone to marry, they can have all your values and you can still mess it up. Maybe you're just getting used to dating and you're on Tinder and you have like 19 matches and you're talking to 19 people and you're talking to this person. Doesn't matter. Same for both sexes. And you're talking to this person and you're talking to these other people and you're going on multiple dates. And even though you both click, you have the same values and you have all those wonderful things, guess what? It's not going to matter because they have other options. And as long as they have other options, you're an option. Well, John was actually pretty good. John, he listened and he paid the bill and he had a very interesting career, whatever, right? You could say, oh, wow, she had really long hair. She is my favorite color, like brunette. She was in shape. She was the exact height I like in girls, etc., right? Like she can check off all your marks. And then you get into the values. She wants to have kids. She's religious. She or he is religious. They don't like to go to sleep angry after an argument. They don't like dishes in the sink at night, etc. Like it can be all those little things. And you understand your values because the moment someone steps on your values or doesn't respect your values, then that's where problems start to arise. And Amy and I were talking about that. And I asked her, I said, well, what should someone do, right? If they don't know the values, well, there's several options for that. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But you have to find your values if you're looking for a serious relationship. Because for me, I talk about it's important to understand what you want in life and it's important to understand what you don't want in life. Because if you're going to want all these things and the moment something you don't want happens, what are you going to do? Are you just going to say, oh, wait, I have all these things I want, but this is not something I want, so I'm just going to be complacent? No. Understand what you want and understand what you don't want. In a relationship, understand what you will allow and what you won't allow. And it's not controlling. It's being able to love and respect yourself. Because if you're not going to hold yourself at the highest point in your relationship, then that relationship is going to fail. Because if you're giving something to someone and you're not getting anything back, you're going to be drained. You're going to be spent. Why do you think divorces happen? It's because people are giving and giving and giving, but they don't receive anything. And it's not just relationships. Imagine if you had a friendship where they kept taking from you. How would you feel about that friendship? Would you cherish that friendship? Or would you despise it and want to get rid of that friend? Most often, you're going to despise that type of friendship. And the same is with your relationships. You don't want to be in a relationship where it's always, I'm doing this for you, I'm doing this for you, I'm doing this for you. What will you do for me? And it's not so much necessarily that you're expected to do something for them. It's just reciprocating what they're giving, reciprocating the energy. So I want to give an example. So let's say you're out on a date and your date is listening to you and you're having a conversation and they're just talking, right? They're just talking. And when it's time for you to talk, you just kind of give a short answer, a brief quip. You just say, "Oh yeah, I like that. This is fun." But you don't talk. And not having that type of conversation, right? You're not able to communicate with them on the same energy or frequency level. They're going to say, "Oh, okay." And they might talk and they might try to, get it going again and, get the conversation flowing. But it has to feel right. There's a balance. And we talked about good and bad. When something bad happens in your life, something good can happen in your life too. And people are focused so much on the bad. They say, "Oh my goodness, this happened to me." And they're not ready for that good. So when the good comes, it goes right by them. They're not paying attention. And when you're identifying if this person is going to be a good fit for a relationship, you should not simply say, "Okay, is the conversation good? Is the sex good? Are they family orientated? Are they able to reciprocate? Are they able to give me what I'm giving them? Do they have the same values that I have?" And Amy and I were talking, and I was saying, okay, from 18 to, let's say, 26, tell me about dating. And she was saying, well, at that age, it's not really serious yet. So if you're 18 to 26, you can have relationships and have a good time. Now, is it impossible to be in love with your high school sweetheart for the rest of your life? No, it's not impossible. It was very possible. I know people who have done it. But what I see later on in life, it might not be with the high school sweethearts. It might be with someone who was in the range of 18 to 26. They're with someone. They have a baby with that person. And down the line, that person is in the relationship for the child. It's not so much they're in the relationship to be in the relationship because they make each other happy or because they're their soulmates, things like that. That's not the case typically. And that's why when I wrote my blog, Men versus Women, I asked who has to compromise more in a relationship, men or women? And the majority of the women said they have to. Men, after I talked to them and I said, okay, well, this is the situation, they agreed. Women. Because a woman can bring a child to term, one pregnancy a year. It takes 9 months. A man can have 365 babies if he wants a year. Maybe even more. So who has to compromise? The person who can have an abundance or the person who has to choose carefully? And just because you choose to have relations with a person and it doesn't work, don't let that be your defining factor in saying, well, my life is over because now I'm stuck with this person. Not necessarily. Because if you're in a relationship with a person, you have a child with them, it would be ideal to stay in the relationship. However, if that relationship is not going to bring you to your desired life, right, your most ambitious self, your fullest potential, I'm all for you saying, you know what? I love you. I care for you. You know, this is our child. I don't have any regrets, but I have to do what I have to do for me. And when you say that, you better be in a position to be able to elevate. Because if you're not, you shouldn't be saying that. And if you want to figure out how to elevate or get into that position, revenconcepts.com. Book a session. It's going to be as easy as that. But we're going into what Amy and I were talking about. So if 18 to 26 is like your play zone, well, what's the marry zone, right? And that's going to be like your 26, 28 range all the way up until whatever, right? 40. And you're going to look for a more committed relationship. That's why the 18 to 26-year-olds typically won't pay for a dating site. Plenty of Fish, free. Tinder, free. What's another one? Plenty of Fish, Tinder. What's the B one? Bumble, free. Why? Why is it free? Because they understand they're just in it for the moment. And yes, deep down, subconsciously, they're saying, I could find my mate. I might get lucky. It's possible. But that's not necessarily the whole truth. Most of the time, I'm looking for someone to have a good time with. And if that leads to a relationship, cool. If it doesn't, cool. But then we get into our dating sites you have to pay for. Your, like Match.com. Why was it so effective when it came out? There was a subscription cost in order to be part of that dating site. And that is called investing in yourself. Skin in the game. Putting some money down and saying, all right, I put money down. I don't want to lose. Would you put money down on the blackjack table and walk away? Just give them money. Say, here you go, money down. And just walk away and not even see your hand? Of course not. You're better off going to the soup shop, like the soup kitchen or the homeless shelter and saying, here's the money. And then walking away. Let's go farther. So if we understand that investing in yourself and, having some type of skin in the game, some type of leverage for you to do something, you're going to say, I'm going to commit to this a little bit more than I would. And I talked to you about a client I had who I gave 2 weeks free fitness session, right? He was a friend and he was gung-ho about getting in shape. And I said, okay, sure thing. Let's do this. And sure enough, after the first 2 weeks, he started to fall off. I gave him everything he needed to succeed, but he fell off because he didn't have any skin in the game. He didn't invest in himself with a monetary amount. Now he invested time, but that time is going to be irrelevant to him. Because if he's not investing something else, then of course he's going to say, you know what? I got 2 weeks free and I feel good. I felt better. Like I know what to do, but life's pretty hard right now. It's pretty rough. Work is busy. And before you know it, you're back to your old habits. And the same thing is true with your dating. You're back to your old habits. And what Amy does is she goes through your life with a fine-tooth comb, and she's like, you know what? You want a relationship, and let's figure out what you want in a relationship, and let's figure out why you haven't been getting in a relationship. Because that's important too. Because if you've been doing something that's going to set yourself up for failure in a relationship, then we have to modify that. And we're not trying to change you, right? A coach shouldn't try to change you. They should help elevate you, right? They should help bring you closer to your goal. And if they're doing that, great. But if they're not, get a new one. The type of clients she works with are going to be, men and women, but there's personalities. So for me, I have the best results with my masculine men type figures. Second best is going to be my feminine type male figures. The third, my masculine woman type figures. And then the least amount of results will be the feminine female figures. And it's not so much that I don't know how to teach the feminine female figures. It's because they require a certain touch. They require certain words. And for me, I'm all about results. If you're working out with me, you're going to get results. If you're working on your mindset, you're going to get results. It's important to identify what you're trying to do, especially when you're a coach. For me, I'm focusing on your mind. How are you thinking about the situation? So if someone came to me and they said they wanted to be in a relationship, I'm not a relationship coach, number one. But number two, I'm going to say, what are you looking for in a relationship and why can't you get it? Because the why you can't get is going to deal with your mindset. That's the obstacle. And I take away that obstacle. So if that obstacle is not there, then you can get a relationship. You can get as many girls or guys as you see fit. Are they quality? Maybe. And that's going to be determined to how you pick your selection process. Don't waste time simply going on dates and wasting money, whether it's just a drink or a full, 3-course meal. Don't do that. Figure out if they're even worth you investing in. Now, for me, I don't mind going out, paying for dinner. I'll do it every weekend, Friday and Saturday. And at the end of it, I'm going to be good. I'm going to be fine because I wanted that. It's not so much I wanted to bring someone, I wanted it. And it's a big difference between saying I'm taking you out versus they are just accompanying me while I go out. Very big mindset difference. Because if you're doing it to impress her or him, if you're going to pay for the meal, and show her or him all the wonderful things that you can do in a relationship, and you're a nice guy or a nice girl, and showing your worth, only to come up short. Ouch. So we're trying to avoid that. We don't want that. So let's get into a little bit of values, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about the interview with Amy, because pretty important stuff. So here we have my website, and of course we can I typed in the search menu, values. So we do have several blogs that are going to be talking about values, but what do you value is important because it's literally the process to determine what do you value. And this right here is more so of what do you want in your life, not so much what do you value as a person. I don't talk about religion. I don't talk about what type of color paint you want on your house walls, right? That could be a value. I don't talk if you like cats or dogs. I don't talk about family. I talk about what you want in your life. What type of values do you want in your life? But here we have Amy. It's Amy Schoen right there. She is talking about values. What do you want in a relationship? And that's where this month, we're really focusing on. We're really saying, hey, what is it about relationships? Good, the bad, the ugly, all that good stuff, right? And Motivated to Marry is where her website is. And again, she works best from experience, from me, having a conversation with her. She's going to work best with any type of woman, so masculine or feminine. And she's going to work best with, and she can also work with a feminine male. A masculine male probably won't be able to get much out of this type of service. So if you're a masculine male, you might want to, I would say, look for a matchmaker, even though matchmakers don't necessarily get the values right the first time. Understanding that if you're a masculine male looking for a relationship, you're a catch, right? You're going to be the person that a lot of women are going to be looking for, especially if you have a good income or just a good career, like you're goal orientated. Maybe you are over 6 feet tall, or at least taller than the person, and you want to have a family. Those are all great things that a mate is going to be looking for, someone who is looking for marriage. So getting into this, and she has many free things that you can check out, see if you want to work with her, her blog, her, posts, et cetera, et cetera. She's also having a class, I believe, where she's having a group of people who are either motivated to get married or coaches who would like to become a relationship expert. So something that you can look into, but her blogs actually pretty good. I'm a blogger myself, and for me, I'm just using blogs to write my book. But for her, she does a wonderful job with her blogs. Very easy to read. They're informative, and I highly recommend heading to her website just to check out her blogs, just to get an understanding of, okay, who is Coach Amy? How can Coach Amy help you or me? And simply just reading her blogs for a day, a week, whatever, right? But get used to how she's speaking. And if it's someone you can relate to, go for it. So I think the best way would be to, if you needed to work with her, is contact Amy. Of course, fill out your contact form. Same thing on my website. And just, there's nothing here saying that you want to receive some type of service. Like for me, it's a little bit different. Again, every website is going to be different. For me, I have a little box that's kind of saying what do you need from me? Right? Are you looking to hire me? Are you looking to see if you even need a coach, like a life coach? Maybe you need a therapist. I had someone earlier today, they were saying, I think I need a therapist, but I'm not sure if I need a life coach. So I just asked, well, is it dealing with trauma or is it dealing with yourself, like your motivation, et cetera, et cetera? So it was a trauma. So a therapist would be the best fit. And then a life who? What do they do? I don't even know. So all that being said, talking with Amy, understanding relationships, what are the steps? All right. First step, we're looking at values. We're saying, all right, this is the value I want. to have in a relationship. These are values I want to have in my life. And then you go after those. And you make sure your mate has those. And there may be a few values that you say, you know what, they're not that important. So maybe you're a dog lover, but your partner's allergic to dogs. It could be a deal breaker for some people, but not everyone. For me, I love dogs. But if I was going out with someone who was allergic to dogs, I wouldn't necessarily say, all right, this is not going to work because you don't like dogs. Now, if I had a dog in the house with me, and that would be a different talk, right? Because now I'm not going to get rid of my dog because someone said, oh, I'm allergic to dogs. And there was a funny post on this like Facebook or just on social media in general. I think it was on Twitter, was the original post where a male had he had an ultimatum to get rid of his dog or the girlfriend would walk away. So he puts on Craigslist. He was like, hey, I have I have to get rid of my dog because my girlfriend is telling me I have to get rid of her or it's going to be her. So I had to make a tough choice. So she has long hair. She's obedient. She's potty trained. Looking for a good home. Please email me if you would like to date my girlfriend or something like that. So it wasn't so much him getting rid of the dog. It was him writing a message saying, all right, this is the girl that's now going to be available to the marketplace because she's not going to be with me because I'm not getting rid of my dog. His values. So simply understanding those types of values is important, especially like if someone wants to have kids and the other person doesn't. If someone wants to have marriage and the other person doesn't. Because if you are going to go down a road and your values are not met to some degree, you're going to feel a certain way. And you're not going to be as eager to be in that relationship long term. Maybe short term, cool. But long term is going to be more challenging. Because your ups are going to be little and your downs are going to be dramatic. When you have more downs, more negatives than positives, the relationship is going to be doomed to fail. So we want to get around that, right? We want you to be in a relationship where you're happy, where you're satisfied, but it happens at different times in your life. So if you're young, my advice to you is to live your life. And if you do have a kid at an early age, be responsible. It was your choice to have relations. So it should be your choice and your obligation to be a good parent, to have a good household, both men and women. That deals with both sides. No side should be leaving a relationship because they didn't want the kid. And here in Texas, because I live in Texas, love it. There was an abortion law that had passed. That abortion is now illegal in our state. That's if there's a heartbeat or something like that. So like 12 weeks, like the fetus can't be over 12 weeks or something like that. So in certain situations, so you would get maybe an abortion for health reasons, right? Like the baby is not forming well and the baby has a high probability of not making it at birth. The doctor, would recommend an abortion. And everyone is losing their mind because they're saying my body, my choice. Okay, not a problem. And we're going to keep this relationship talk, but my body, my choice. Okay. But we have these same ladies saying, if it's going to be illegal for me to have, to get an abortion, if I want an abortion, it should be illegal for men to not have to take care of their kids. Well, that's why I have the child support, right? But then I even went a step further. I said, well, if it's illegal for you to have a baby because you don't want it, it should be illegal for the man to take responsibility of the child if he doesn't want it. He's literally telling you, hey, lady, I don't want this kid with you. Okay. I'm still having it, she says. And you're gonna have to pay child support. Okay. But she's on the other foot now, right? My belief, live your life. Do what you want. You want to have a baby with a guy who's not worth it? Go for it. You want to have relations with a girl you don't want to have a baby with? Go for it. But there's consequences. If you have a child with someone, raise a child together. It's not that difficult. You can hate their guts. They can be severely unattractive in every aspect, but you decided to lay with them. Reap what you sow. You made the bed, now sleep in it. That type of mentality. Have a relationship. Because parenthood is going to be necessary for the upbringing of a strong child. A mom can do so much by herself. And I'm not saying that the women can't go out and be independent and be a single mother and handle their business, because they do it every day. And the same thing is true with the men. Men can be single fathers and do a great job, handle their business and raise a wonderful child. But what happened if you had two parents with a common goal? You don't see like a construction crew working on the road by themselves. They have a team. And in a relationship, you're a team. So, Motivated to Marry with Amy Schoen. Why do you want to get married? Because I think people have some type of fantasy about marriage. Oh, when I get married, I'll have sex whenever I want. Oh, when I'm married, I'll be happier. I can raise my family and all the things will be good in life. And that's far from the truth. Because what helps a marriage last the decades is a few things. I'm a mindset coach, so I'm going to say mindset. That's my number one. Number two, and it's a close second, probably literally right on top of it, communication. And Amy and I spoke about this in our interview, where a couple needs to have 90 minutes of communication with their partner every week. 90 minutes. And that's talking, like how I'm talking to you. That type of conversation. Not, what should I get at the grocery store? They text you back. Bread, eggs, milk, and yogurt. Okay. Was that a conversation? That was not a conversation. So you need to have 90 minutes of conversation a week. And that's going to average to about 12 minutes a day. And if you wanted to go up to 15 minutes a day, because you were feeling, you're like, oh yeah, I can do this. All right, just, bring it up to like 108 minutes a week. Call it a day. But there's one thing that needs to be understood. Just because you're talking to people, it doesn't mean it's going to be positive talk. Not every conversation you're going to have with your partner is going to be positive. They're going to get you mad, just by looking at them. Maybe they're on the sofa and they're just eating some popcorn, and popcorn's going all around on the sofa, and you're like, what are you doing? Maybe they leave clothes all around the house. What are you doing? Maybe they don't take out the garbage, or they don't do the things that they used to do when the relationship was at the inception, the honeymoon phase. It's not the same anymore. And the fact that it's not the same anymore is going to have people start to think, you know what? Maybe this relationship wasn't meant to be. Maybe this relationship wasn't supposed to happen. And so I'm going to leave. And people leave because something wasn't in line, their values. Maybe their values changed, which is possible. Because sometimes couples fail to grow together, so they grow apart. And if that's the case, it's going to lead in breakup. And Amy has some experience with this. So if you're having thoughts of divorce, if you want to leave your relationship, or navigating after a divorce, she's also a good fit. And this is going to be for clients 28 and up, people who are going to be serious about a relationship. And that's all to include, except my masculine males. You should look for a matchmaker if you're having trouble. Typically, my masculine men, you should be able to go out. You own the bar, you own the place, walk in, get any girl you want. That's what should happen. Now, does it? Not all the time. Sometimes you might come home all alone. Sometimes you might have a pocket full of numbers. And sometimes you just might, get a big girl. Who knows? Everyone needs love. But there's something about it. You didn't give up, right? Didn't work this weekend. You go out next weekend. Oh, it worked. And I remember when I was always going out every weekend and partying. And high school, it was easy. High school, college, it was easy. I would go out, and it was my choice. Do I bring someone or do I leave someone? My choice. And that's powerful, because what it did to me before I hit that 28, that 28 range, I was already confident. I was already saying, I already did this several times. This is nothing to me. It's a walk in the park. It's not boastful and it's not braggadocious. It's reality. Because what I find with young men who don't have enough experience with having a relationship with a woman, whether it be just having general conversation or having, a full blown relationship with them, they're timid. And the thing about the dating scene, they can smell fear. They know when you're timid and you're afraid and you're a coward or you're not sure in your abilities by the way you move, by the way you talk. They can tell. So don't give them anything to go off of. You give them 100% confidence. And who knows? Maybe that girl you pick up, that guy you say, okay, I'll dance with you. Maybe they'll be your, forever buddy, your soulmate, your spouse. But it doesn't happen by simply saying, oh, I wish I had a partner. Oh, I wish I had someone to come home to because that's not happiness. Someone is not going to make you happy. They might embellish your happiness, but they're not going to make you any happier. Because you don't hear in divorce court them talking about all the love that they gave, they want it back. No. They're talking about, you give me 50% of your stuff or more, and I want this much in child support and this much in alimony. They're not worried about the love, because the love was passive. And if you're going to be worried about the passive stuff, guess what? Maybe the relationship will last a little bit longer, because now you're concerned about it. And if one person falls out before the other person, that causes discrepancy too. Because I can be very comfortable in my relationship, and they might hate the relationship. She might say, I'm not happy, I'm not this, I'm not that. Okay. Well, I can look at my actions and I can see what I was doing wrong. And I can say, okay, I've been doing that. That was not good. That's unhealthy. That's negative. Get a life coach for that part. Because sometimes you might be so blinded by your habits that you don't realize what you're doing is harmful. And for me, I know what's harmful. And sometimes I do it on purpose. Why do I do it on purpose? Because I can. Because I'm confident enough to walk away or to walk into another relationship. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of losing someone. I'm not afraid of giving someone a chance. At the end of the day, I'm going to handle my business. Just like I said in the beginning, you walk into the place like you own it. And it doesn't matter what place you go to, you're good. And if more men could think like that, you wouldn't have any issues with getting ladies, with finding marriage. You will be a catch. You will be someone where they say, wow, I like his attitude. I like his ambition. He's very masculine. That's cool. I can get with that. I can get with that program. And if you're not there yet, what can you do? If you're fat and you need to lose weight, what do? Go on a diet, go to the gym. If you don't know how to do that, you get a trainer. So if you don't know how to do anything I just said, you get a life coach. Doesn't matter if it's me, doesn't matter if it's Amy, you find someone who you resonate with. And that's important, because you're not going to be able to make progress if you have a life coach who is not a good fit for you. So make sure you do your due diligence when you're looking for your life coach. Don't just say, oh, this is my first life coach I got. All right, I guess, it's working. Cool. And if you're a life coach, listening to this, don't allow a client to remain a client if they're not a good fit. Because if they're not going to do what you need, you're just a bank robber at that point. Just give me the money. Just give me the money and I'll see what I can do. Just give me the money and I'll see what I can do. No, that's not how I operate. I'm about results. If I can get you the results, I'm going to say, this is what I'm going to do to get you the results. But if you're not willing to put in the work to get those results, whose fault is it? I'm doing my work. So whose fault is it really? And most of the time, if you're not willing to get the results, it's because there is going to be a discrepancy in the personalities. That's why I said, for me, I work with masculine men, feminine men, and masculine type women. Amy does best with feminine women, masculine women, and feminine men. So identify which type you are. And I don't want you to change your type. So if you're a masculine woman, I don't want you to say, oh, I'm a masculine woman. I don't really want to be masculine. I want to be more feminine. Okay. But why? Understand why you want to do it first. And then look for a coach that can help you with that particular thing first. Because masculine men want feminine women. And if you're going to be in a relationship, you just need to have balance. So if you're a masculine type woman, you just need a feminine type male. Okay? So it doesn't matter. You could be any type, but you are typically going to find someone who's going to balance you out. So, Motivated to Marry with Amy Schoen. Wonderful blog post. Highly recommend checking out her website at motivatedtomarry.com. Her link is in the description box below. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow all those great things you do to a video. In the meantime, if you have any questions for me, you can always email me at coachinginsession@gmail.com. If you have advice or topics you want some help on, or you would like me to cover, feel free to also email them or leave them in a comment box, and I'll be sure to get to those. So our next episode is going to be Monday. It is Labor Day. I am going to do it live regardless of the holiday. So while everyone's out barbecuing and eating all the hamburgers and hot dogs in the world, why not stop in and listen a little bit about dating? Because we're going to be talking about the blog post that day, and we're going to focus it on the dating aspect. So you don't want to miss that. Until then, take care.